Hello and welcome to a fresh new episode of Dynamic CISO Talk Show, where we invite senior technology leaders and practitioners from across the world to talk to us on issues of contemporary importance and also on various products and solutions and technologies. Today's discussion is very security centric and focuses on a very important technology, which we know as SIEM, or security incident and event management. For sure, it is not a new concept. It was introduced long ago, and if my memory serves me right, in year 2005 by Gartner. At the time of its launch, it was a ragingly new approach for managing the security threats, analyzing the logs, and acting on the incidents to remediate them. Since then till now, a lot of water has flown under the bridge. And since then, and many say that SIEM in its traditional sense is almost dead. But then they also say long live the SIEM. Newer approach such as MDR or XDR are now giving SIEM a fresh lease of life, making it an important or quintessential tool in the cyber warfare. In fact, the continuous rise in concerns over IT security keeps the SIEM tools relevant in all times. It provides threat log and event management at a very low cost and in a very consolidated fashion, making it extremely easier to handle numerous security solutions while maintaining high productivity. And therefore, the global SIEM market is further being driven by increased attention to comprehensive IT governance rules and compliance with the regulatory environment. Now, today we have with us a special guest, Harshal Doshi, who's the Sales Director for India and SAARC for Securonix. Prior to joining Securonix, Harshal had worked in senior leadership roles with Forcepoint and Symantec in India. Harshal, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Thanks, Rahul. Thanks for having me. Doing good. And I hope all well with you as well.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to this conversation with you, which is my first and maiden conversation. So let's talk about the first thing first. As I said in my introduction, there's a saying that traditional SIEM is dead, and MDR or XDR, extended detection and response, is the new SIEM. Keeping that in mind, what would be your first initial thoughts, and how is Securonix placed in this next generation SIEM playfield?
Right. So Rahul, I think you hit the nail over there. The SIEM space, as you know, it was called traditionally, really focused around two aspects. Okay, one is collating all the activities and events which are happening in your enterprise from a digital footprint perspective, and reporting on those events from a compliance perspective, reporting perspective, GRC perspective, so on and so forth. And the second aspect was around the threat detection, right? Most SIEM companies, and as you rightly mentioned in your introduction, which started about almost 2 decades back, they focused a lot on collecting events, running some standard reporting on them for majorly compliance purposes, because the objective was, if there is an investigation that needs to be done either on probably say a fraud or something went wrong from a transaction perspective, they had to have the forensic evidence to be able to run the investigation correctly, right? So this particular space, SIEM, actually is a derivation from traditional investigative logs, which were available either in terms of physical records in your police stations like FIRs and so on and so forth. And that entire physical criminal fraud getting converted into digital, and how do you really have those investigative forensics is where this entire industry generated from, right? And as I said, the second aspect was around detecting threats which are happening, in your enterprise. But that was a very minuscule percentage of functionality in those legacy SIEMs. Over a period of time, what happened is that the log management aspect became very easy to manage because you had technologies like big data platforms, you had worm technologies like, write once and read only, read many times, kind of technologies where, you have absolute integrity of data. So that was the easier problem, which was solved, over a period of time. What remained is that how can SIEM companies focus on advanced threat detection, right? And that is where new age technologies like, say, machine learning, artificial intelligence, behavioral modeling, so on and so forth, were introduced in this particular space to detect advanced threats. If you look at any other cybersecurity solution as well, till about 2-3 years back, most of these solutions were dependent around writing static policies or rules to detect frauds. But the limitation to that approach is that you can only detect that much because ultimately it's humans who are writing those rules. So as long as you have smart people who can envisage scenarios which are going to happen in the future, who can have a very broad view of what kind of frauds which can happen, you can never detect everything, right? And technologies like machine learning and artificial intelligence have actually helped enterprises solve this particular problem by making them independent of human intelligence, right? So the traditional security information and event management conceptually is dead, okay, but technologically it has only elevated or advanced.
Yeah, that's right. I think a very perfect answer and very naturally progressed towards from the rudimentary approach to what it is today. So I actually might have skipped this question, but it's a very important question. I know the company was founded over a decade ago, and the question may not be as significant as it would have been in the initial first few years. But tell us a little bit about the origin of Securonix and where it is from, where it was, and the whole journey.
Absolutely, Rahul. So we were founded about in 2009 or 10 time frame, and that is where the SIEM industry was going through its inflection point, where large enterprises, governments had already adopted that particular technology, and they were looking for something which could enhance a SIEM platform to do much more. And as I said, most of these legacy SIEM solutions which were there at that particular point in time were primarily focused around log management. So what Securonix saw as an opportunity, our founder members, Sachin and Tanuj, they saw this as an opportunity of employing new age technologies like machine learning or artificial intelligence to detect advanced threats. Okay. To that extent, we started off as a very standalone UEBA company, which is the user and entity behavioral analytics company, which could coexist with any SIEM in the market, right? Where we ingest events into the UEBA platform and run advanced analytics to detect advanced threats. And that was a very successful model, because what we were doing is that we were now detecting a lot more threats than the traditional SIEMs were detecting, and without disrupting their environment, right? So that is how we started off, as a company, as an organization, to coexist with the SIEM players at that point in time. And over the last decade, we have kind of evolved into a full-fledged security operations and analytics platform, where today we offer a next generation SIEM, which is powered by our UEBA technology. And the foundation of the platform is really a big data lake for the obvious scalability, so on and so forth. Now, one trend that we absolutely rode on as it was adopted in the market for the last, say, 5-6 years very, very aggressively is cloud, right? Whenever you look at a technology like this, which requires terabytes of analytics to be done in real time, you need a solution which can scale up in a very automated fashion, okay, and still give you results in real time, right? And managing all of this on premises is a big task. Cloud really solves that problem because of its auto scaling capabilities and dynamic resource allocation capabilities, so on and so forth. And we were amongst the first next generation SIEM companies to have rolled out a full SaaS based next generation SIEM offering to our customers. To that extent, we are not only cloud available, we are actually cloud native, which means that our solution is actually built on cloud native services, right? So yes, it's been a very, very interesting journey, Rahul, and today we are the fastest growing next generation SIEM company in the world. Gartner and Forrester recognize us as an undisputed leader in this particular space. In their critical capabilities report, Securonix stands on top across all the 17 or 18 SIEM players that we are compared against. And I would definitely credit this to the kind of innovation that we have done, both from a technology perspective and our GTM perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was about to come to that aspect. I was also going through the latest Gartner MQ for SIEM, which was released in April this year, and I saw that Securonix is positioned as a leader, of course, along with some other prominent players like IBM Splunk or Logarithm, and so on. As you said, that it is cloud native. Not only cloud enabled, but cloud native. So what are the kind of differentiators that Securonix offers in comparison to the other players that I just named, or maybe more?
Sure.
It seemed like a slightly crowded market for me now.
No, absolutely. In fact, if you look at the number of participants in the Gartner quadrant this time, I think it's more than 20. And that's a crowded space, as you rightly mentioned. And one of the reasons for that is that a lot of other companies which started off just like Securonix, which were traditionally only UEBA players, also either got acquired by a larger SIEM company, or they elevated themselves to a full-fledged SIEM platform, right? Yeah. So yes, it is, there are a lot of participants in this particular magic quadrant, but there are very few leaders, right? And, what I would like to do is probably, give a high level comparison of how Securonix, differentiates itself. Yep. In comparison to these leaders. The first and the foremost thing, of course, is driven by our forward-looking technology research and enhancement, right? When you talk about a next generation SIEM or a UEBA, typically what comes to your mind is that you're trying to solve a cyber risk issue, right? That, hey, I want to deploy a SIEM to protect my organization from any cyber risk, okay? But when you kind of broaden your view of enterprise risk, it goes much beyond cyber. In fact, cyber risks, tangible liability to an organization is small in compared to other business risks that an enterprise faces. For example, you must have heard that many banks or financial organizations face financial frauds because of a process leak. Okay, somebody on the inside knows too much and is helping a fraudster siphon off money, right? So when you talk about an enterprise risk management, system, you will understand that most businesses face a lot of liability on other kind of risks, and Securonix really kind of dwelled into that particular space through the SIM route. Because today, most businesses are enabled digitally. Everything that they do has a digital footprint. So whether it's a financial transaction, whether it's a loan application, whether it's a supply chain issue, or whether it's a medical record or anything like that, right? You talk about any industry, everything is digitized. What we did is that we developed our machine learning models to not only detect cyber risk, but even business risk. For example, can we detect a Swift-based financial fraud by ingesting events from your Swift system? Can we detect a patient record fraud by ingesting events from electronic medical records device, right? So by doing that, we penetrated into the business risk arena and did not limit ourselves to the cyber risk. Right? This is one of the key differentiators functionally that we have with respect to all other, whether you take any other SIM player in the market, their policy library is very, very limited to either detecting cyber risk or cloud risk and stuff like that. But we are going beyond that and addressing business risks. Okay, so that is one. Second is our delivery platform itself. As I mentioned, we are a complete SaaS company where the entire portfolio is available as a service to the customer. So there is no infrastructure investment. There is no manpower required to run that infrastructure. Typically, I'm sure you must be knowing, a lot of the cybersecurity team's effort goes into keeping the lights on rather than leveraging the functional benefits of a product. Sure. Right now, we are making the customer independent of that. We are relieving them of that particular pressure and asking them to focus purely on the functional benefits that a SIM provides. Right. The third aspect really is which is very, very crucial, is that we are an organically developed product, which means that we have not built our portfolio by acquiring company A, company B, company C, so on and so forth, right? Yeah. The speed with which you can come out with services with inorganic growth is very fast because you get a ready product, with you. But the downside to it is that the true integration takes, quarters or sometimes years to achieve in its true form, and still you have multiple panes of glasses to switch between consoles and stuff like that. Here, Securonix has not acquired a single company since its inception. Our entire portfolio is built from grounds up, which means that it's all available as a single pane of glass, a truly integrated solution. So these are some of the key differentiators I think we have, and some of the forward-looking innovations that we are doing, which even analysts like Gartner and Forrester recognized, that we are coming up with our own SOAR platform. Right. We are coming up with our own TIP platform, so on and so forth. So those are very, very, very good forward-looking statements. Yes.
So wonderful. I think thanks for this elaborate explanation as to how Securonix differentiates itself from the other leaders in the quadrant, and what different approach it brings to table when it comes to SIM. Yeah. So my next question is that security and risk management leaders increasingly want the SIM solutions with attack detection, with investigation, response, and compliance capabilities. Now, in terms of the all-encompassing approach does Securonix meet these new demands?
Yes, absolutely. And I think, that is where the world is moving towards, where enterprises are demanding not only collection, detection, and incident management, but even incident response, incident containment, and hence governance, risk, and compliance.
Yep.
So this entire whole 9 yards is now being addressed by Securonix natively, where in a single platform we offer log collection, machine learning analytics, our SOAR capability, XDR, so on and so forth, threat intelligence, everything all encompassed in a single pane of glass solution to the customer. Absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. So one last question, which is very India focused, that how is Securonix placed in terms of business in India? Some of the key customers that you could name or industry segments that you target, and what's the go-to market?
Absolutely. Thanks, Rahul, for that question. Though globally, Securonix is the fastest growing SIEM player in the world, and we address or serve rather about 30% of the Fortune 500 globally. We started our India business just about 2 years back in September 2019. Okay, that is when we started. And over the last 2 years, keeping the COVID pandemic challenge, that the country faced and everything, we are not short of, for the lack of a better term, astronomical growth. Okay, we have seen some of the largest enterprises in India adopt Securonix as their choice of security analytics. And what we are trying to do here, Rahul, is that we are trying to build a very well-oiled ecosystem in India, where we have now signed up around 20 channel partners, distributors, MSSPs, who are in a sense becoming our sales arm in the country to resell our services and offer our services as a managed security services portfolio and MDR portfolio as part of their offering. So we have done very, very well from building that ecosystem perspective. From a customer's perspective, as I've mentioned, from zero to I'm not allowed to talk about numbers, but if I have to put it in percentage terms, we have probably already captured about 15% market share in India.
Okay,
right.
Right.
That is the kind of growth that we have seen in India from a company perspective, right? And the third aspect, which is also very, very important, is that we are now building our India team very aggressively. Starting the 2022 fiscal, we will have about a 10 to 12 member sales team to address the India market. And we already have about 400 employees in India to help customers smoothen their operations from a professional services perspective, cloud operations perspective, tech support, and engineering. India happens to be our second largest base outside of the US from an employee perspective. So we have a very, very strong presence in India and a very, very strong outlook to address this particular market from.
Thank you so much for talking to us, Harshil. It was indeed a very fruitful and a meaningful interaction with you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rahul. Pleasure talking to you.